Hi,
Hi,
welcome to Everyday Ellises.
welcome to Everyday Ellises. Thanks for chatting.
Yeah, thanks for coming. What's our topic?
Giving and receiving,
Nice.
how we have that energy exchange and being willing to tell the universe you want to give and receive. And how does that look like? Being, yeah.
You talking with people or the universe or manifesting? What are you talking about?
Um,
Goals?
like, in many examples, like one, like someone wants to buy you lunch.
Okay.
And you're like, no, you're not going to buy me lunch.
Yeah. So I used to be bad. When people would offer me things, I used to always say no. I may have been the worst person on the planet about it. You know how happy she is. Um,
I'm not happy.
I'm doing a lot better with it. I've done a lot better with it over the past decade, especially the past 5 years.
Okay, so diving a little bit into that. And then also just like maybe sending the universe mixed signals, which we'll get into. But at the end of my Peloton ride today, Alex Toussaint said, open up your arms wide and be willing to receive from the universe. If you want to give light, you have to be open to receive light. And so that was kind of my reminder, and something that we had just talked about the other day with when you're with this person, if they want to buy you lunch, let them buy you lunch. Don't tell them no. That's a gift they're trying to give you. And being able to receive that gift is an act of giving, because you're taking their gift away if you say no. So it's hard. And like, how would you feel if you tried to give something to someone, not lunch, maybe an actual gift, and they're like, no? So it's hard.
Yeah. So how are ways that you like to give and receive?
So I think I've been trying to be more intentional about giving to my mom friends.
Okay.
Not always, but sometimes, like in place of giving the kiddo a birthday gift, maybe the parents have specifically asked, like, please no gifts, or we've talked about it. And then I get something like for the mom, like her favorite coffee shop, or a self-care kit, like body scrub and a face mask and just a candle, like some downtime self-care, celebrating the mom, like trying to um, give a little light to my mom friends and give them some joy and attention, and show that that celebration is also a celebration of them, and that having that intention, and then like handwriting them a little note. So that's something I've been trying to do.
I love that. That's nice.
Yeah.
And then how do you open to receive?
I think being open to receive, I think of like our neighbors in our community here who have offered to watch our kids. And over time, we felt like we could accept that generosity of giving. And we are so grateful for it. And we've really enjoyed our time together when we've gotten that. And then the kids have really enjoyed their time with whoever they're hanging out with. Um, it's interesting, just exchange with the universe, because it felt like, for that particular example, it felt like it would be a burden to whoever was offering. And maybe it still has been in some ways. They're still taking care of 2 toddlers, but our kids come back like so lit up and full of life. And I feel like we come back recharged in a different way too. And so it has been like a weight lifted in feeling initially like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm accepting this gift. It feels so heavy. But then when like the transaction, I don't know how else to say it, is over, it actually feels like very, very good energetically.
Yeah. The interesting thing about giving and receiving, I think, is that often it's not with the same person. You don't always give and then down the road you have an exact transaction with that same person to get something back.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think in that regard, where they're like, I'll do this and then they can do something for me later. And that's all good too. Trades and that's business. So that's like now you're doing transactions, like specifically measured. That's the energy in those transactions aren't as good. But if you see a need for someone and you step out of your way to go take care of that need for them because it benefits them this much and only takes this much energy for you, so the return on investment overall between the two of you is good, and you walk away with no intentions of anything in return, somewhere else in your life, someone will just give you something worth about that gap or more. It'll just happen. It'll just completely keep turning. Like I always talk about how money is called currency for a reason. It's an energy is supposed to flow through us. You're not supposed to hoard it, right? Same thing with our energy that we live with throughout the day. So we're meant to live. Like plants are either growing or they're dying. Organisms are either growing or they're dying. And in a moment, you're doing one of those two things. And the more you use your energy, the more you're continuing a growth, a forward projection. So, which is better than dying. So the more you can help people and be intentional about it, don't have your head in the sand and just randomly be doing things for random people recklessly, and you might run into the wrong people that way. But in your community, when you see an opportunity, pick up the weed, right? Help that person. And it'll cycle right back to you. There's so the way fire pumps work are really interesting.
Tell us more.
When you put them in line, right? Water comes in at a pressure, let's say it's 50. And then this pump spools it. Only so much water can fit through, so you're not going to get more water out of the system. But if it goes through one pump, it comes out at 150, and it goes through another pump and pushes it even more, it compounds the pressure. So you're not getting more water out of it, but the power behind this little guy gets added to this little guy, like two fans in series, right? So if that pushes the wind, then it hits the next, that wind now has a head start to get another push. It's not like there's a max amount, but they could keep compounding each other. Just keep putting one from the other in front of the other, and the water go off faster and faster and faster because gets a head start from the one before it. And I think that people are a lot like that. If you give to someone else and they run with the football with the good energy, that specific energy can keep compounding. You're getting better and better as they keep pushing it forward to the next person. Like there was that movie with the little kid, just like paying it forward. Remember that? I think it was a Bruce Willis movie.
I have no idea. No.
He had like cancer or something. I'm butchering this.
That is your area, not mine.
Yeah.
I think of like when we first became parents and we didn't know what we needed. And one of our really good friends showed up to just drop off food. They didn't tell us. And that was like amazing. We had no idea how hard it would be to feed ourselves as new parents. And we had several other friends do that, but this was the first friend that did it. And it was just shocking how something as simple but a grand gesture of a meal was so huge.
Yeah. Well, and at their phase of life, because they were a decade ahead of us, they look back and they're like, I'm at Costco right now. It takes me 5 minutes to buy this food.
Yeah.
It's going to make them so happy because I remember what they were going through. And then they don't even tell us. And there was, of course, nothing expected in return. We're just friends. And they're like, I think this is going to make them happy. And what's the return on that? Now, everyone we see who's pregnant or has, like, immediately, we're like, how do we just drop off food for them?
And I think of another time when we were super sick and the kids like Harlow was maybe 6 months old, and another family friend of ours came over and brought us food, and they like held Harlow, let us actually eat our meal. They were like, do you want to go take a shower? Do you want to lay down and rest? We'll watch the kids. Like, so incredibly generous. And we didn't know we needed it. We weren't necessarily asking for it, but we maybe were praying to the universe for some type of support. And we're like, please, we're ready to receive. And it showed up in that way. So I just, ways you're not even necessarily expecting.
Yeah.
And just it makes a huge impact both ways. And like to see the joy from their perspective, like to hold Harlow, to see us getting nourished, to have the conversation with us, like their cup was filled in that giving. And I think of it very often, and I miss them a lot.
Yeah. So to go back, that's a huge one. To go back with when it comes to receiving, you won't know what you need. So if you're looking for something in particular, I think a lot in life, you're like, it still hasn't showed up. It still hasn't showed up. It still hasn't showed up. Right? You're like, okay, so there's this guy who lives in the middle of nowhere. Right? I'm making this up.
Oh, I was like, who's this?
He lives in the middle of nowhere, and he's like, all I need is money. All I need is money. All I need is money. And then all these camels and sheep keep walking through his property. He's like, but all I need is money. He's like, well, if you just herded the camels and sheep, then you could go one village over, sell those things, and you have your money. The universe is giving you what you need.
Right, but you're not open to it.
You just don't see it because you're being closed-minded off. You think you need this.
Yeah.
The resource has been provided.
Yeah.
You just have to open your mind up one more inch and be patient and think about it. Like, wait a second. If I do this, then... It's
another example of perspective. Showing up and, seeing through a different lens.
And having the humility, because so one of my favorite things is when I'm envious or angry or any negative energy, right? It's not usually the other person's fault or the situation. It's my fault. It's a sign of, ooh, there's something there that I probably need to work on, or something that I need growth for, or something that I'm being challenged with to get even better with. And I don't like that. And the fact that I don't like it isn't usually other people's fault. It's like, okay, this is my time to overcome this bad emotion and to learn from it. Whether it's I need to learn to stay up 2 hours later into the night because right now I don't want to miss my sleep, but right now I have to. Or it's I don't want to learn from this person because they were a bully and they treated my friend really poorly and blah, blah, blah. But the fact is they have the knowledge I need to get to this next step, right? These are all, okay, well, can you learn it from someone else? Or what's the knowledge you really need from them? Or all these different little scenarios. When you have negative emotions, the answer is inside of you. It's not the outside that's the fault. It's yours. It's the same thing when you're asking to receive, right? You need to have the humility to be able to receive from where it comes. And it might not always come from where you expect it, right? And then evaluate it and say, well, what can I do with this? And what can I do that aligns with myself and the situation that's been given with me?
This is also a reminder to still maintain boundaries. Like, don't all of a sudden, like you're in a very challenging position with, new kids and can't feed yourself, and someone who you've already set a boundary with,
comes in and tries to take advantage of you.
Right. Like, well, I can show up for you. I can be that person.
No, that's the universe asking you if you still have boundaries.
Right. So
that's why I said you got to maintain alignment. Be open, but maintain alignment.
Yeah. So just it's a lot of pieces. It's not one thing. Just like, okay, I'm ready to receive, or I'm gonna give. It's just to wrap up, like I enjoy being able to give in these different ways and receive. Just a reminder to keep that flow of light and abundance.
Don't be afraid to give to people. Don't be fearful and hoard your energy. Don't be afraid to receive from people. Don't be too proud. Think that you can do it on your own.
Yeah. And it's the reminder to be willing to ask for what you think you need. Or if you don't know, say like, this is what I'm going through. I don't really know what I need. I'm open to ideas.
Yeah, I think the best way I ask for things from people is by essentially not asking. I just tell everyone my whole life. Everyone I talk to, I'm a very, very open book with. And I start talking and talking until we find something common, keep talking about them and me, and just get to know them better. And then eventually, if you're surrounded by good people, something will come up where they offer you some advice, right? Because I didn't know what advice I needed from that person. I didn't know when we first started talking. But eventually they offered, and you're like, I needed that advice. And I didn't even know I needed to ask it. All I had to do was be kind and open. And then they offered it. It's one of the best ways.
All right. Thanks for joining.